Shalom Avracha from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. This evening we're privileged to study together in our second Haftarah series, the Haftarah of Parashat Zachor, the Shabbat before Purim, and all of the Jewish communities of the world. Instead of reading the weekly Torah portions, Haftarah, we read a special section dedicated to the theme of the destruction of Amalek. This Shabbat we read of the commandment of removing Amalek, of remembering Amalek, of destroying Amalek, and the parallel text is in the 15th chapter of Samuel 1, Shmuel Aleph, Perek Tetvav, which is the reading of the Haftarah of Parashat Zachor. What I find fascinating is that in the context of study of how we are to remember the atrocities of the attack of Amalek, in the very same story, in the very same chapter, there's an unnoticed sentence, because we're talking so much about Amalek, that I would like to emphasize that Shaul, who was so often heavily criticized for the fact that he did not carry out completely the word of God, there's one very, very sensitive sentence there, which is not criticized, a sentence which demonstrates a certain level of commemoration of greatness of a positive deed that was done. In other words, the imagery of Amalek is, Amalek attacked us, as it says in sentence 2 of the chapter, the ambush that Amalek placed against the Jewish nation. You're supposed to remember that when they attacked us on the road. That's the reading that we read on the holiday of Purim from the book of Exodus. Amalek arrived, Vayilachem im Yisrael b'refidim. They had no reason to attack the Jewish people. The Jewish people were not coming to the land of Amalek. They had nothing to do with Amalek, and they just attacked us as we were traveling from Egypt to Israel. But at the very same time that we remember the wickedness of Amalek, it's perhaps emphasized in our text that we are also supposed to remember the Hesed of another great nation. And that is the nation of the KEINITES. If you want to follow, I'm reading sentence 6 of chapter 15, Pasuk Vav of Perek Tetvav, where when Shaul is about to attack, Shaul is about to carry out to the best of his ability the command of God through the prophet Samuel, he pauses to make sure that he would put into proper levels of protection the people of the KEINITES people. Since the people of KEINITES resided in close proximity to the people of Amalek, Shaul wanted to make sure that the people of KEINITES would be saved from any attack against Amalek. And he explains that since they were ever so kind with the Jewish people, it would be improper, it would be immoral for them to be destroyed. Therefore, they should take proper measures to leave the scene and to flee so that they would not be destroyed. Meaning that to many people, they remember the negative activities that so many people did to them. I hope that you never have any negativity in your life. I hope nobody ever does anything negative to you. I hope you only have positive memories. But maybe if we read together Pasuk Vav, and I quote, Vayomer Shaul el HaKeini. You have it? Sentence 6. Vayomer Shaul el HaKeini. L'chu Suru redu mitoch Amaleki. Leave. Part ways. Travel away from the Amaleki. Peno sivchai bo. Lest you will be destroyed with them. V'ata asita hesed. V'ata asita hesed. Im kol b'nei Yisrael. V'alutam mi Mitzrayim. And you were involved in doing kindness with the Jewish people when they left Egypt. We'll soon talk about their kindnesses. And therefore, by Vayasar Keini mitoch Amalek, And Kaini leaves, and then Shaul carries out the prophetic instruction of Shmuel. You see, when Yithro, one of the many names of Jethro, one of the many names of the father-in-law of Moses, according to one tradition, he had 7 names. Why exactly he needed 7 names, it needs to be clarified. We once spoke about it, half jokingly and half seriously. So I'm not one to explain it, but the rabbis teach. They had named Yether and Yithro and Chever and Kaini and Reuel and Putiel. And he had seven names. 7 names. He also had 7 daughters. It says that explicitly in the text. I once suggested that maybe if someone who has 7 daughters has 7 names, that's what it means to have a child. Maybe each new child brings out a new name in the parent. You can't be exactly the same to every child. I mean, child A is not the same as child B. Therefore, the parent of child A can't be the same as the parent to child B. Maybe every new child brings out a new name. One of the names of Yithro and the family of Jethro is Kaini, according to our tradition. And so, V'ata asita chesed. Look at the words. V'ata asita chesed im kol b'nei Yisrael. And the commentaries ask, where do we find that Yithro did chesed? Yithro was involved in an act of kindness. Kol b'nei Yisrael, with the entirety of the Jewish people. So there are different ways of reading it. Of course, the most blatant form of kindness that we know of, in terms of the behavior of Jethro, is anyone?
Hosting Moshe.
Hosting Moshe. Yes, Moshe was a fugitive in a foreign land. He was in the land of Midian. He had nowhere to live. He had nowhere to eat. And Yithro says to his daughters, at the beginning of the book of Shemot, if you remember, where is that man? They tell the story about how he protected them against the shepherds, and he helped them with their sheep. Lama ze azavten et ha'ish? Where is he? They come home earlier than usually. And their father asks them, Madua miharten bo hayom? Why is it that you're home earlier than usual? Well, there was this Ish Mitzri, this Egyptian man. Oh, really? So where is he? Vayomer el benotav v'ayo. Lama ze azavten et ha'ish? Kir'en lo v'yochalachem. Why don't you call him? Why don't you summon him and let him enjoy some food here? V'yochalachem. The rabbis say maybe it means a symbolic euphemism for marriage. Maybe Yochalechem can mean, maybe he's appropriate for one of the women in this family. You know, maybe he should marry someone here. And ultimately, he does. Of course, Tzipporah is the daughter of Yithro. Yithro is involved in Chesed. Yithro is involved in Chesed. In our text, in the text of our Haftarah, it's called in Kol B'nei Yisrael. Perhaps if you're involved with Chesed with the leader of the Jewish people, Moshe is of course the leader. Moshe is the ultimate prophet. Moshe is the ultimate manhig ruchani of Am Yisrael. If you're involved with Chesed with Moshe, then you're doing Chesed in Kol B'nei Yisrael. The rabbis teach that in the Midrash, that the one who extends kindness to the leader is the equivalent of extending kindness to the entire. You want to say something?
Chapter 4, verse 18.
I'm not sure. Can you speak it a little louder? Yes.
He went to his father-in-law. He swore he wouldn't leave without his permission. Yomer Yitro, Lech L'Shalom. He opened up with Chesed to let him go. He would have to be there forever because he swore he would not leave without his permission. That's Al Kol B'nei Yisrael by releasing him. Chapter 4, verse 18 in Exodus.
I appreciate the comment. That maybe Yithro's encouragement to Moshe to listen, allowing him to listen to the message of God. Kir'en lo v'yochalachem. Ata asita. The word is very fascinating. Shaul is addressing people hundreds of years later. He's not talking to Yithro. He's talking to the descendants of the descendants of the descendants of Yithro. Va'ata. Look at the words in our Haftarah. Va'ata asita chesed. And you did chesed. What kind of? They didn't do chesed. The chesed was done by their great-great-grandfather. You, meaning maybe the nation, the people of Kaini. And perhaps we learn from this in the very discussion of remembering Amalek. which is of course the theme of this Shabbat, Zachor, et asher asa lecha Amalek. Can I suggest that if you're supposed to remember negative behavior, how much more so are you supposed to remember positive behavior? Maybe each of us should have a little notebook with the names of the people in our personal lives that did favors to us, and maybe we should leave some kind of moral instruction to generations to come. Maybe you should always have in mind, the following people. If you ever had anything to do with the great-great-grandchildren of Mr. A, or Ms. B, or C, or D, these people did favors to us. But Asita Chesed, I want you to do Chesed with their descendants as well. That's what's happening here, right? They're extending kindness. They're remembering. Hashem is saying, Pakadati, I remember what Amalek did, and Shaul is saying, yes, and I also remember not only what Amalek did, but I remember what Yithro did as well. And it's interesting that he is involved in giving bread. He's involved in giving lechem to Moshe, and later on in the section of named after Yithro in Parashat Yithro, if you look at chapter 18 of Exodus, verse 12, it says that the entire assemblage of the elders of Israel, they all came to eat bread with Yithro. Sentence 12, chapter 18. Yithro was involved in taking a burnt offering and a feast offering for God, and Aharon and all the elders of Israel came le'echol lechem im chotein Moshe. They all were eating bread. They were all breaking bread with the father-in-law of Moses. He started off with a little bread that he gave Moshe, and then he reached the highest levels of honors. And you remember the text in the book of Ecclesiastes, towards the end of Kohelet, one of the famous teachings about doing kindness, in chapter 11, verse 1 of Kohelet, he speaks about casting your breads upon the waters. Right? Send your bread upon the waters, because if you do, shalach lachmecha al pnei hamayim. Sometimes you think, I'm going to do this action of kindness, but I'll never see any results from it. Well, not only will you see results, you'll see results forever. Ki berov hayamim timtsaenu. That's what it says there. For after many days, you'll still see the results. You'll still be reaping, dividends from the action of the bread that you cast. Yithro cast a few loaves of bread upon Moses, and look how much. Look, forever and ever, he's benefiting from the bread that he gave him. And I saw a midrash this afternoon. I think I wrote it in one of my notes here. I saw a midrash this afternoon that when Bil'am, in the book of Bamidbar, in the book of Numbers, there's a discussion about the Keni. In the book of Bamidbar, in Parashat Balak, we read there, if you're interested, it's chapter 24, verse 21 of Bamidbar. It's Parashat Balak. Rabbi Yochanan teaches in the Mechilta of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the early midrashic sources. Rabbi Yochanan says that Bilam was so disturbed, it bothered him so much. Yithro is still going to benefit from one action? Alav tzavach Bilam harasha. If you look at Bamidbar Kaf Daled Kaf Aleph, it says Vayar et hakeni. Bilam perceived some kind of prophetic vision about the Keni. Vayisa mishalo vayomar. And he proclaimed his parable. This is what he said. Eitan moshavecha. Eitan moshavecha v'sim basela kinecha. Keni, your dwelling place, Keni, is so strong. It is such a stable dwelling place. It's everlasting. It's firm. Eitan moshavecha. Your nest is set in a solid rock. According to the rabbis, Bilam was confused and baffled by the fact that look at the reward for one act of kindness. In the language of the Midrash of Mechilta, Amar kama tokef ayalo. Bishvil shtei kikrot, shamar kiren lo v'yochal lechem, Notein lo sachar ulevanav ad sof kol hadarot. For a few loaves of bread, for a few pieces of bread, Yitro is going to benefit forever and ever. Bilam is disturbed by this, or maybe Bilam is teaching us through this message. I believe that when we study the Haftarah of Amalek, when we study the Haftarah of Parashat Amalek, we should take special time to see the emphasis on the contradistinction between the negative behavior of Amalek and the positive behavior of the Kaini, and remember forever that we should be involved in doing chesed with as many people as we can, because the reward for the chesed will be not only for ourselves, not only for our children, for all generations, forever and ever. And if there is ever anyone who has done for us any form of chesed, we should never forget it. If we're not supposed to forget Amalek, let's not forget about Kaini as well. Thank you so much for listening. Shalom Vracha. Purim Sameach. Purim Sameach to everyone.